The dream of Aengus, a retelling. All this because I fell in love with a dream, something I could never hold in my two hands. I am a sack of bones now, and the jostling of the chariot threatens to snap me into pieces. My men warned against this journey. They steal glances from atop their horses, wary of the diminished prince, frightened by the haunted eyes that caused my father, the king, to slaughter an entire army. No father can bear to watch his son wither away. And after 2 years of searching, 3 years since my affliction began, my father would brook no refusal. Had we known why Aethel refused to give his daughter, the secret he hid, perhaps the bloodshed could have been avoided. But no, I will tell the truth now. There's no time for anything else. I would have seen all 5 kingdoms laid to waste if it meant I could hold her in my arms. My last hope lies at the mouth of the dragon, a lake at the very edge of the world and the next, known for swallowing men, horses, and hounds alike. Some say to brave the shores of Loch Beldricon is to offer your life in sacrifice. To do so on Samhain, when the other world overlaps this one like evening shadows overlay the ground, is madness. So be it. Setting sun, slow your course. Angus MacOch hastens to his doom. It was madness from the start, the sort of reverie that steals through a tent flap, born on a blossom-scented breeze, and sets into the body like a fever. I saw her in the last moment of wakefulness, when familiar shapes stretch unfamiliar limbs, and eyelashes are guards drunk at their post. She stepped out of nothingness and into the chambers of my mind, stepped from the darkness of my quarters to stand at my bedside, real as my own flesh. Her beauty possessed me. Glittering dark eyes, hair like moonlight, and a shape curved as the winding river. I reached for her hand, anticipating the soft warmth of living flesh. But my fingers closed on air. She was gone. She was gone, and I was awake. Had been awake. Not a dream. No, not just a dream. She was life, the living of it, the eating, sleeping, making of it. I could do none of those things without her. No food passed my lips that day, and when night came, I lay in my bed, a trussed animal, eyes rolling, muscles bunched beneath the ropes. Would she come and cut my binds? Again my chamber was empty. Again she appeared out of the hollow space, an impossible necessity. She held a tin pan in her hands, and when I tried to speak, she silenced me with the strum of her fingers. Her music was as fresh as milk from a red-eared cow, sweet as golden apples. I knew I could never get enough, for here was the whisper of wings, the thin, expectant air of twilight, the promise of eternal lands. Night after night, she came to stand just outside my reach and play her captivating melody. As time went on, the chords grew heavy with longing. Her face grew pale, her eyes deep wells of sorrow, reflecting my own thwarted desire. I woke each morning, my face wet with tears, almost certain I'd heard my lady's voice calling, "Find me, Aengus, find me." When I'd lost half my flesh and stumbled around like a drunkard, they brought in physicians. I sent the fools away. What could they do? Then Ferg, the wisest of them, came, and with one look pronounced the truth of my condition. Love in absence, he called it. You've grown sick at heart, my boy. Since the cure is out of reach, there's only one thing we can do. They sent for my mother. She came, she worried. She tended her ailing son and began a hopeless search for the girl I haltingly described, my words like dull rocks and lumps of peat compared to her beauty. A year passed, a year of empty days and treasured, tormented nights. My mother's search yielded nothing, so the king was summoned. He stormed into the fort one day, not long after Beltane, each thump of his staff like a strike to my temple. His voice boomed outside my chamber. "Do I not have 2 sons? Surely they're not both useless. Where is—" He ducked into my quarters then, and his changing expression revealed more to me than any reflecting pool. His anger at the summons faded, and he crossed the room to touch my forehead and sweep the lank hair from my face. "Aengus, can this be you? I thought your illness a trick, some boyish folly, but now I see I was mistaken." The search began anew, with my father enlisting the help of my brother Bob to scour all of Eridu for the girl who haunted my dreams. I must admit, it gave me some pleasure to think of my warrior brother, Bob the Red, the great slab of Munster, as I called him, riding from kingdom to kingdom, asking after a girl with moonlight for hair. I never expected my stolid older brother to turn up anything. More likely, he was trading my tale of misery for the hospitality of every home and hearth in Erdu. So when Bob sent word of news that arrived at the fort one blustery night November last, I expected at most a clever plan to mollify me with some noble's daughter. Pretty, worthy no doubt, but not my lady. At worst, I thought I might get a thorough thrashing for sending him on a fool's errand. But Bob entered my room a subdued giant. He discarded his traveling cloak, and candlelight burnished his red hair and turned the yellow embroidery on his tunic to gold. He looked like my father, like a king, but he wouldn't meet my gaze. Foreboding kindled in my gut. "What news, brother?" I asked. His answer pierced me with double-edged hope. "I have found her, the girl you described. But Aengus, brother, you must end this pursuit. She cannot be yours." I rose then, pushing my weakened body to stand before Bob's stalwart frame. His face paled, his features slipping from surprise to shock, and finally to understanding. I offered a resigned smile. "You can see there's no going back. I am already consumed by my living dream, and I go willingly forward to my lady's arms or to my grave. Sit, brother, sit. I will tell you of this girl, this fate that has found you, though I wish it had not. She is Caer Ivermeth, a daughter of the Sidhe. I had suspected only a creature of the other world could visit me, enchant me night after night, and though a union between our kind was uncommon, it was not impossible. Mortals lived in the kingdoms beneath the mounds alongside the Sidhe, and the Sidhe walked along among us from time to time. I pummeled my brother with questions. Where is the entry to her lands? Have you spoken with her people? Bob shifted in his seat, his blue eyes darting about the room. Her home lies within Connacht's borders. Our father is on his way to speak to King Ailill and Queen Maeve now, but Aengus, there is more you should know. The girl is not free. You mean she's promised to another? Bob's face twisted into a grimace. They took me to see her at dusk on Samhain at the mouth of the dragon, and what I saw... He paused and a shiver skimmed my spine. Bob scrubbed his face with one big hand and then let it fall into his lap as he leveled his gaze at me. 150 maidens, shackled together with the unbreakable silver chains of the Sidhe. They stood on the banks of Loch Beldrocon like an offering. Caer Ivermeth was among them. I was on my feet. The chamber swayed and spun around me, but I gripped my post and shouted for my attendants. Aengus, Bob supported my elbow, his low, urgent voice at my ear. There's nothing you can do. My men and I tried to free them, but we were defeated by fierce warriors. The Sidhe did not tolerate interference. I would have ridden out that night, lashed myself to a horse or huddled in a chariot as I do now, but Bob prevented me. First bodily, how was I, thin as a hazel branch, to prevail against a boulder? Then, with words, he convinced me to trust Caer's fate to my father's negotiations with the Connacht rulers. And when Caer appeared that night in my quarters, beautiful and sad but undiminished, I knew the dragon had not devoured her yet. Soon word came that King Ailill and Queen Maeve had agreed to help my father. King Aethel of Sheol would be summoned, for Caer Ivermeth was his daughter. Surely they could secure Caer's release from her strange imprisonment and arrange a betrothal. Even a Sidhe ruler couldn't object to a marriage between his daughter and a high prince of Erdu. Here my story becomes not only my own, but a tale for bards and poets who remember the deeds of the dead. King Aethel refused the summons, sending word that he would never give his daughter's hand. My father and the nobles of Connacht took offense, and believing their cause just, namely freeing Caer and the other maidens from death, went to war with Sheol. They breached the mound, plundered the wealth they found there, and decimated its people. When I close my eyes, I can picture my father's army emerging from the kingdom beneath the mound, each man carrying the severed head of a Sidhe warrior. All this because I fell in love with a dream. Aethel was captured, made to talk. I cannot give you my daughter, he finally confessed, for her power is greater than mine. The interrogators halted as King Ailill stepped near and asked, what power is this? To hold two forms within herself, to span two worlds with her music, to soar above the dragon's mouth on enchanted wings, guarding she and men alike from the beast dominion. Aethel shook his head in weary warning. You will find Kyre at Loch Beldricon in the form of a swan. Only on Samhain will you see her maiden shape, when the barrier between worlds is thin and the dragon stirs from his slumber. Then chains of our finest craftsmanship bind her and her companions, so none of our fair guardians will be lost. And so I hasten toward the dragon's mouth in my wretched state for a glimpse of my heart's desire. Maybe one moment with her, one touch of her hand will be enough to save me, but I do not think so. My life has become her, and she has become life to me. My chariot descends among shadowed hills, which no doubt conceal she-warriors. Supposedly, word has been sent to let me pass, but my men ride ahead just in case. A gleam of silver stretches across the horizon. Loch Beldricon coils in the valley, its shores hidden by groves of alder and yew. The setting sun ignites the surface of the water, and a flash of reflected light washes my vision with liquid gold. I blink, disoriented by the blinding light. When I can again see, I am standing on the pebbly shore, alone. Before me, the waves of the lake shift from silver to smoke to jet as the night creeps, not from the eastern sky, but from the depths of Loch Beldricon. Riding the undulating swell of dark water is a multitude of snowy white swans. Lingering rays of sunlight weave over their backs and breasts like chains of gold, and their calls are like victory songs. Kyre, I cry, Kyre Ivermeth, will you come to me? A voice, sweet as harp song, reaches the shore. Who is calling me? My knees hit the rocky ground, but I scarcely feel it. It is Aengus who calls. My love, I will come to you if you promise not to take me from these waters. I give her my vow, though it means she can never be my wife. The future I dared to hope for will never be. The waves lapping the shoreline grow more distinct, more urgent, as if stirred by forces unseen. Then she emerges out of the darkness. Casting off the void like a wet cloak, she steps onto the solid ground before me, my lady, the goddess of my dreams. Her hand raises me to stand, her snowy arms enfold me. For this moment she is real, and in this space between two worlds, we belong to each other. I know our embrace must end. When it does, I stretch out my hand, knowing my fingers will close on air. But I do not have fingers. I have feathers. My arms have become wings. The world I know falls away beneath me as I follow my dream into life.